And welcome back from break. Dolson here, back on the desk. Alongside me is Gore Miser for our final set of the day. And Gore, we have Lowkey Esports, who is a team who is made up of, you have a couple rookies in Taco Bell Waifu, which is a hilarious name. And you also have G-Pan, are the two rookies on this lineup, but you have a few members from the old Happy Battle Cats team, as well as Cool Matt, who used to play on Onslaught. So a team with an interesting mix of new players as well as some players who have been in the scene before.
And it's that perfect mix that you want, right? Where you have that veteranship, players specifically like Cool Matt who have had a lot of success in past rosters being able to come through. Happy Battle Cats who are like right on that tier. Like they looked like they were going to get great towards the end of the split last time. It took them a little bit to get there. This is a really good area to kind of start into it and take that step forward.
Absolutely. And on the other end of this matchup, you have eStorm Gaming, who is entirely a rookie roster. So you have Ochada, you have Counter, V8, Struck User, and the Dishonor. So we saw a rookie lineup in, I believe it was Viral Gaming earlier today, who went up against Flashpoint, which is one of the tougher matchups that you can play
probably
right
the
off
hardest
the bat.
you could have at the very beginning.
So they'll look to find their footing here. I know V8 goes by V8 Androxis is his full name, so potentially seeing some interesting Andro play out of him, but they'll look to get off to a good start here. Looks like their first Paladins console week, so hopefully getting things started well.
And this is apparently a team that has been grinding kind of, not necessarily in the league, obviously, but they've been playing a long time. They have that experience playing Paladins. Now it's how can they convert that knowledge to this knowledge of being able to play in the console league when you're going against these teams that are very coordinated, they know what they're doing. It's different than scrims, it's different than raked, it's a whole other beast to tackle.
Well, let's dive into our first set of maps here as we get into game number 1 between Lowkey and eStorm. So you see Frozen Guard, Ice Mines banned out on the side of Lowkey, and on the opposite side you see Warder's Gate and Stonekeep as well, with Bright Marsh being our first pick here. So do you like the Bright Marsh coming out of the bat? I know some people feel different ways about it.
I actually like it because I feel like there are a few maps that you can start off on, and then like if you lose, it's not a big deal. But if you win, it's like the best way to start out. I feel like Bright Marsh is like that perfect area. Because like normally you're going to have that draft where it's just like, okay, we can dominate on this, or we think we can dominate on this. But at the end of the day, like everyone has a Bright Marsh. It's not completely over if you lose it.
And we did see some weird first map picks. I think it was Evan and I were catching. It was just the last series where we saw Frog Isle come out first, and I was thrilled to see that. But more of a standard map here coming out of Frog Isle is just the best, isn't it? But we see Ash coming out as the first ban, and Talus and Torvald as the first two bans here for Lowkey Esports. And not surprising, I don't think, seeing Torvald getting banned out, and then Grok finalizing our bans here.
The thing that surprises me the most about Grok is just because how big Inara has been. Grok is like one of the perfect people to deal with an Inara, and he's big on console just because Maelstrom Grok going for damage or even going for CC Totem, like trying to stay alive a little longer, no matter where you go, it's going to be successful. And so I kind of like the idea of banning him just because he's good, but at the same time I feel like you might also hurt yourself.
We do see Koga coming out, but Torvald is off the board, and you know, it's not necessarily the type of champion that you have to pair with a Torvald, but one of the reasons it's so strong is because you do have the Torvald. So is that interesting to see for you to see a Koga come out without that Torvald pairing?
Mainly, yes, just because of the fact that he's going to have to deal with a lower health bar and admittedly just lower damage all around. He doesn't have the pocket boost that he's going to have from a Torvald, unless they're going Luminary Genos a little bit further down the line, which eStorm still have the capabilities of doing, except now that it's been taken away from him. He's going to have to just be base damage Koga.
And we haven't seen that before, so we don't know how well it's going to work out or not. Obviously, you know, the player is really the driving force behind how well the champion does or doesn't do, but without that pocket Torvald could be a little bit different of an outcome. But like you said, we do have the Genos coming out, and then Khan and Tyra, one of the first few Tyras we've seen today. I believe we saw her earlier in a couple sets, but pairing her with the Khan.
And admittedly, Khan, Koga, Makoa, Tyra, like there's a ton of damage, there's a ton of control in this kind of composition. No matter who you go as a healer, your team is going to feel confident, but there's just a little missing for me, you know what I mean? Like there's survivability, but not necessarily in the Koga. Like he's going to have to play it carefully. Tyra's going to have to play it a little bit more carefully, and while they have some decent targets, Inara and Ruckus, how they deal with the Genos, how they deal with the Grover, how they deal with the Vivian is going to be a different area, a different realm to tackle.
And we do see the super common 5th pick Inara coming out here
all the time.
to round up the Lowkey Esports lineup. So the Ruckus Inara, then the Saris rounding things out for eStorm. At an initial glance, do you give it to one team over the other?
I have to lean over towards, just the Inara and crew. Everything looks looking good. Vivian's going to be a little iffy for me, but I'm assuming Binary Star, Genos, Healer, Grover, the damage is going to be there. It's just if they can apply it in the right place. Makoa and Con are going to be a big wall for them.
And Lowkey Esports, not necessarily the team with something to prove, but to prove that they can take out some of these teams with not as much history as they have. So Lowkey Esports, you look at Orifix, you look at some of those guys to come in and do tons of damage for them. And then on the opposite side, you have eStorm Gaming, an entirely rookie lineup looking to prove themselves. But we're going to see how it all plays out as we get into map number 1. Here are your casters, Evan and Pretty Hair.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the dojo. It's Paladins, baby. And it's time for game number 1 in our last Paladins Console League set of the day. Oh, boy.
I like this tune.
I like it, too. Taking me to another...
What is that?
Another land.
It's a very brassy string instrument in the background.
I want to say
a sitar?
A sitar, yeah. That's a great way to call it there,
Guess.
man.
I don't know that I'm right, but...
Now, let's take a look at these
Undulant
names.
Games 14.
Because we've got a lot of them. And Lowkey Esports...
I get to say Undulant all the time.
versus eStorm. This could be bad.
To the Console League we
This
go.
could be bad, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to give words like that. Nick too freely.
These are names. Taco Bell waifu.
Is that brand infringement right there? Are we profiting off of Taco Bell right now? And if so, is this... We need legal in the room.
It's a very backwoods type of way. I think we are.
I think more people, though, want to probably eat Taco Bell than they did before we said that. So we're benefiting them as well.
Dude, isn't Arby's actually doing that as a marketing? They're doing an Arby's waifu as an actual marketing promotion.
You know what? You're right. I think Arby's does need something, though, personally, in my opinion. But
so Taco Bell waifu just staying ahead of the curve here.
Ahead of the curve.
And 75% and climbing for Lowkey Esports as they pick up another one. V8 Androxus goes down. And it looks like Lowkey might just wrap up the first payload.
And that is Lowkey Esports doing their thing. Good start as well for the boys. eStorm lose the Tyra out and really taking a little bit more of an in-depth look at this. Milka Cat, we do have one of the more funny name to actual life experiences that we've ever seen in the Console League. Milka Cat inquired the question, why is your name Milka Cat last season? And he actually tweeted us about a few weeks later saying that he had actually milked cats on a farm.
Hey guys, big surprise here. Stay with me now. I used to milk cats.
And we'll remember him
who's
forever.
Buying that? Why,
I don't know.
What is it that you're serving?
Sir. Where was it bottled? Was it to feed other young cats who were needing nursing? What was the situation?
The saga continues.
And the saga continues for that one.
Answers are met with more questions surrounding Milka Cat.
It's like alien documentaries. It just get the more mysterious it gets, the more convoluted. It's the same thing with Milka Cat. Very
And there ends the round.
What a cast. Man, sometimes we were just on our game, and I think this is it.
This is one of those times. 6-0, 3-1, 3-0, 3-1 here as Mr. Pickles with the best support slash line after one round. 0011 here. Big Agent.
Big Agent. Big Agent Grover. And counter on the Tyra, obviously trying to get a lot from that. The Koga is available, but it's not working at all. Started with the Life Rip Kill the Hill.
Yo, you're with the casual loadout, dude.
We went Onslaught.
You're supposed to pick that in Onslaught, not in the Console League.
Oh, man.
Come on, bro.
Let's take a look at the loadout, too, I guess, of Androxus.
And it's honestly so much riskier because you're less likely with no Torvald to run away with it to make that loadout actually that much better.
Ooh, but he's got that level 1 card I kind of like. If you pump that up to level 5.
What is this load? This is not ideal.
100% increase. Wow, yeah. Wind's Embrace 1. This is a very unique style, but it doesn't mean that it can't work. And I kind of do love that about Paladins. I'd like to see some success here just to show that, hey, it's, there is optimal, but there's also just style. It's probably riding the line in between both of those right now. Yeah.
Stylistically dead. Artistically, incorrect at the moment. 93% in climbing. Lowkey Esports. Another whirlwind here, and they're going to grab this payload as soon as somebody actually remembers that they need to step on, and there it is. Lowkey, get it done.
Did it make you feel something, though? Because that's all art is intended to do. As long as you felt something when you watched that Koga die.
Isn't it you that's like hates that saying or that way of defining art?
That like
anything that makes you feel some type of way?
Well, no, I think I was just, I'm sure we've talked about it. The amount of things, the random things that come up in conversations amongst casters it's too, I don't know if I said that. I might have.
Might have.
It has to go in and out, otherwise I can't store all that stuff.
Random impassioned moments.
Well, this has been
This
has been a fast game, Nick, and the reason we haven't been able to break anything down is
it's going one way right now.
It's going one way.
Don't like the Koga loadout here. Don't like that it has a Torvald with it. I do like actually this Ruckus coming through. A lot of this Genos getting run today, and Ruckus is that other off tank that I kind of wanted, like Ruckus and Genos, if they can run around together, I actually would like that little kind of duo queue, and I'm all about the little bodyguard and his homie there.
Yeah.
Whether it's Khan Bomb King and now Ruckus Genos starting to be kind of a thing that I'm enjoying here.
Yeah, and the Genos is clearly, I mean, it's the hit scan pressure, it's good healing, it kind of fits really nicely for console, much more than the Pip. I think you could just replace this like for the PC because of that control, the comfort.
Can I see this loadout before we end the game here? Go ahead. I just want to see.
No, yeah, no, but I totally hear what you're saying. This is an interesting style. People are going to have their adjustments on this as well.
Has everyone run that damage reduction so far?
Soldier
had DR5.
I mean, if you're starting out this way, would it be more efficient to run the damage reduction? Is that the key to this build, or is there something where, I mean, a little bit more lifesteal, a little bit more...
I think it's good for that style because you're trying to fight people.
Yeah.
You're trying to get up in people's faces, and then when it's time to run, you get to run away forever with DR. That's free at that point.
That's true. All right, well, interesting looks at that, and I'm sure we really elucidated all the points for you. So you don't really need a desk right now, but maybe in case you want a little bit more analysis on this game. Let's send it back to the desk. Gore and Dave, they're waiting for us.
They need more desk so they can look at Gore and I a little bit more, I think, after that first game. But, you know, I seem to be the desk guy who draws in the most 4-0, quick 4-0 sweeps out of anyone, because when I was on desk earlier today, we saw, I think it was a 4-3 into back-to-back 4-0s, but, you know, here you see Lowkey Esports taking the initial quick 4-0 sweep off of eStorm and, you know, a quick start.
And again, it's kind of what you would expect when it comes down to one team having a little bit more experience overall in the league. Two rookies on the team, but you still have a lot of members, again, that were the happy Battle Cats that you might remember from Fall Split versus eStorm, who are still coming into this fresh. Yes, they qualified. Yes, you have all that experience. But again, once you get to the league, it's just a little bit of a different experience to tackle. And there was a lot, I mean, the numbers kind of say it all, but at 4-0, there's just a lot that were just not even fundamental mistakes as much as it is like, okay, well, they controlled the point. You couldn't do anything.
And, you know, if you have to look at stats here, you look at Orifix, 80,000 damage, and, you know, kind of leading the charge there. But really, these slash lines are the ones telling the stories. You know, you got 4 total kills in that game if you're eStorm. So not really a good look coming out of eStorm, at least initially. And you see here Orifix just doing what he does best and really carrying this game, especially on a Vivian. We've seen her come out today, and he just plays her so well.
And it's going to sound very obvious, but the best way to deal with Vivian and her Sentinels is to kill her off. The fact that you have 1 death overall, right? These Sentinels were up. They are one of the only ultimates that can charge while you are shooting them. So even if you're able to deal enough damage to get rid of these Sentinels, Orifix was alive long enough every single time to recharge the ult with the current set of Sentinels that it never mattered. You were always taking way more damage than I think anyone on eStorm was prepared for.
And I think you made a very good call before we went into last game, but you didn't like the Koga without the Torvald, and it did not work out for eStorm there, and I'm sure you stand by that just as well after this.
It still hits pretty hard. Kind of. Not as hard as it would with the Torvald bubble, but it doesn't have any crutches. It doesn't have, hey, here's 2,000 more health that you can play around with. It doesn't have that saving grace of saying just you can get out of this fight whenever you need to, or you can regress whenever you need to. You do more damage. And that's how I would describe it. Torvald is a crutch for a lot of those flanks, so being able to play it without the Torvald is going to be, I think, the bigger test for teams like eStorm.
And that's hard to... And Nick and Evan said this, but it's hard to kind of analyze a game where it's just such a one-sided sweep like that. I mean, do you think that's something that they can address in picks and bans. I guess we'll see if they do change anything. We are going to jump into map number 2 here for this series. So Frog Isle, thank God I get another Frog Isle today. So I get a second Frog Isle on the day, which is always good news. But what do you think this means series-wise? I mean, Eaststorm got pummeled on Bright Marsh, which doesn't happen. Frog Isle could be more the same.
Bright Marsh, I would say, I would think the typical score line is going to be 4-1, 4-2, right? Frog Isle is always 4-0. And if you go 4-0 on Bright Marsh, I have a strong feeling you might be able to replicate that by going to Frog Isle. You're going to feel pretty comfortable here. But it is different overall. A lot of close range, close quarters combat in Bright Marsh, whereas Frog Isle is a lot more open. There's less walls. You have some pillars and some trees to duck behind. You have a nice little window for snipers to sit in. But you have to be a lot more careful if you're playing something like a flank. If you do a Koga, you need that Torvald. Otherwise, you just don't have any of the health to actually get around.
So Torvald, Grok, Ash, and Vivian all going to be off the board, which leaves Eaststorm with that Victor, which, normally the Vivian is the counterpart to that. That's the other strong hit scan presence in a game like this, so Vivian being off the board is pretty big here.
And having to deal with Victor, which again is going to be that long range hit scan pressure.
Right.
If you're Lowkey Esports, maybe you have a sniper. I don't know most of these players as well as you would know. Like Prosper Logic, you're watching Flashpoint right here. Okay, Frog Isle, they ban it all the time, so you're not going to see them there. But if they go there, they have a Kinessa. They have that ability to play for it.
Right.
Lowkey Esports have gone for the Genos, which, if you go Binary Star, can kind of keep up in terms of damage, in terms of hit scan, but it's still a little rough.
And that... We all saw me get surprised by that damaged Genos earlier, so now, now I realize it's actually a legitimate damage threat if you put it in the hands. It was Soldier playing it. SoldierBot was playing in the earlier game, doing a beautiful job on it. So, I stand corrected at least in that regard. But you do see Makoa and Ruckus, 2 more picks here for Lowkey Esports. So 2 of the stronger tanky-ish champions. Obviously, Makoa's a tank, but Ruckus kind of a hybrid. So Lowkey Esports rounding out their lineup, getting a really strong, at least initial 4 picks here as we see Talus and Saris on Eaststorm.
I mean, if I'm Lowkey Esports, I'm happy because they banned Vivian, and other than that, I literally have the exact same lineup. Like, everything we already know is like, okay, well, this will work, this will work, this will work. Koga, I'm a little on the fence about just because, again, it doesn't have his crutches. But that comes down to me more towards the player. If it is going to be very specific, can this flank play him at that same level that you would see when he does have that Torvald enabling him?
So you got to look at the Koga again, I think, in this instance, because, I was taken aback at how well he did with that Torvald in his pocket. Didn't do as well in the last game without the Torvald, as we're saying. We do see him picked up again, but on the side of Lowkey Esports, who just did that steamrolling. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out here in game number 2. We are going to get into it here on Frog Isle. We are going to throw it to your casters. Here is Evan and Pretty Hair.
Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you. Now we finally understand what went down in that game, because I'm not sure we were able to figure it out during the 6 minutes they were playing.
But now it's a different story. Ooh, a couple of different talent selections coming out. A little Tremors and Nara for the boys. Agony Saris. And it will still be the Binary Star and the Rocket Barrage. Ruckus to round it out. RFX is going for the almost Onslaught style build. And one of the things that's okay is he picks up the Rejuvenate. And while he doesn't have Torvald, he will have a Genos who is likely going to be pocketing him. Not giving him the bonus damage of Luminary. You will have your HP cost of being in Claw Stance covered just by having Genos. Assuming he's alive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that will be helpful here. Counter in a good spot. I mean, this is definitely what you want from your burst mode. Missed a few shots, though, that were available for him to hit. Good grenade opportunity here. And he's going to get it. 750 on a Makoa. Doesn't seem to be running Grenadier at all. And this is just not quite where you want to be. Not usually is it about hitting your shots, I think, for some of these champions. But Victor is very much about that.
Yeah, that's pretty much his few ways of doing damage here. Good damage across the way on a Ruckus, but running largely into shields. And Nara's falling lower and lower. Khan's falling lower and lower. Starting to regain map control. GPAN Velocity picks up the first kill of this next fight. And the rest are kind of coming in spades.
It was a weird fight because, I mean, Victor usually is right around where Counter is now, running for his life. But he was on the other ledge by himself. Feels like there's just so much confidence coming through here from Lowkey Esports. Eaststorm are having a hard time finding their rhythm and making use of their picks. Androxus on the Talus getting healed up, but so much damage. And Lowkey Esports with the Koga in hand now Feeling good to pressure this out and capture objective number 1.
And once it starts to go that way, it's very difficult to stop it from going that way.
Yeah.
Claw Koga or Dragon Stance normally costs you energy to stay in. This talent makes it cost health. If it's not costing him health because Genos is there, he doesn't have any ammo. There's nothing to limit him from just swinging away for the rest of the game. And that's why it's very dangerous to let a fight get away from you when there's Koga on the enemy team.
Drox getting in there towards the backside of things and at least applying some pressure, but it all ends up working against him and his squad as maybe they bite off a little more than they could chew. The Anar goes down. Orifix helps to clean that up. And again, Androx is going to either have to rune travel back into danger or find the kill and make it safety by going through the flames and the fire. He'll choose the former. And Counter also will get Void Gripped, and that will be his death as Eaststorm now only have 2 members alive as the push continues.
Ruckus pretty high impact here today, and it's one thing you have to kind of look out for, and this is what's giving me even more confidence because Vivian, Talus, and Victor are so popular, and even kind of Sky looked at a little bit earlier on in today. Hasn't really been the case later on, but Ruckus struggles against those matchups that just have the super high gas pedal single target DPS like Victor, Viv, and Talus. And even though Milka Cat is going up against both Victor and Talus right now, he's doing okay. And part of that is I think Koga is helping relieve some of the pressure because those are the easiest 2 matchups for Koga to get in and slay out. So it is a bit of a symbiotic relationship at the moment.
And, you know, maybe it's like something just going off. Maybe it's the picks. Maybe it's the drafts. Maybe it's just maybe a meta kind of caught them by surprise here, and qualifying was a little bit different for them because these teams, they worked hard to get here. I mean, they definitely had to play against a lot of other teams to be even in the conversation of this working out for them. But it just, I haven't seen it yet, Nick, and I hope we do see it now. The contention, the fight, the strike back, so to speak. We've seen some big punches come through from Lowkey Esports. I'm waiting for Eaststorm to take the moment and deliver their uppercut.
And I believe Eaststorm is one of our rare sort of LATAM console teams.
I think so.
That has been playing together for a very long time. Obviously, our main man Blue hooking us up with a lot of insider info, stuff that we just don't kind of know because we're not in the trenches as much as he is with this console scene. Little Convergence going to pull the boys in here, but it's nice to see the LATAM players in the minor league, and now that we do have actually a LATAM console representative, that's not something I've really been familiar with or even aware of in times past.
Yeah, and you know what? That is what's great about it is they're all playing the same champs at the end of the day, representing different regions, but you know it shows up in the same way. It's a beautiful thing to see all that come together and still provide you some great Paladins viewership. And it's obviously a huge accomplishment just to get into the league, and it's great to see that. I'm curious though, how do you, now that you're here, now that we've already, you know, got this part away and there's this whole new mountain to climb, how do you make the adjustment, Nick? What needs to go down for Eaststorm? Because Lowkey Esports, although they don't get that push, it just feels like, I don't know, it feels like it's the avalanche is about to happen, the dam's about to break.
Right, you certainly after game 1 leads you to feel that way, and items coming online now as well. So Eaststorm are keeping up in that department. But it's somebody taking control of the game, whether it's Talus, whether it's Victor, whether it's just a communication between the two. Victor starts the kill, Talus figures it out, but that's where it needs to come through. A lot of times that aggro tank, that power tank, getting control of the stairs, and the way that Eaststorm are fighting for Frog Isle isn't very conventional from what I'm at least used to seeing here. Normally they're trying to fight over these stairs, and you can see that Lowkey Esports immediately go to Eaststorm's side of the staircase, storm it, take control of it. And it's like Eaststorm don't look like they know exactly where they want to be fighting.
That was a good overpower. I mean, I did like that. Milka Cat had no way to get out of it. Threw him at the downward angle so he couldn't advance from up high and create that space back. This is so far decent from Eaststorm. Khan still on an 8th Street. Can he keep this up? They're backing away, though, and they finally do fall.
I mean, I got to talk about how my man just didn't finish that kill on the Genos.
Yeah.
And we've seen a couple that early. Legacy had a couple of what I call the no-look shot, where you think the shot's going to kill them, but then it actually doesn't, and then you're already looking away from your target. It didn't feel like a case of that. It felt like he just gave up for almost no reason, so lets that Genos live, comes back to haunt him, and now Lowkey Esports will be on the offense once again.
Even a bit of resistance there. It just still felt so calm and quaint, and really more polite resistance. Like, I'll push you back because, you know, okay, let's make this look like a thing, and now, okay, we're done. I'll step away gladly, sir. Go ahead, take, you know, this space, take the parking spot, do whatever you need.
That was weird.
it just doesn't feel like real aggression here. I haven't really seen it yet. And we do have ultimates on the table, but fortunately Talus, if he did have his, won't get a chance to use it for now. Inara still trying to get healed up. She's got the seismic crash. And Saris has the convergence. That could be a deadly combo, but the barrage, which their killing potential, their finisher potential, not charged up yet. Counter getting pressured still.
I want to know what the little healing icon, I want to know what the tick rate is. Is that every like 0.2 seconds? Those little numbers?
Which one?
You see that on the
Oh,
bottom
yeah,
there?
yeah.
I want to know like
What's the tick rate of it? I believe
if
it's
Saris,
like...
if Saris is 1,000 per second, it makes me think that it's every 0.2 seconds. If she's getting like little 200 ticks coming through there.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I mean, that's probably what it is. Genos, look, 44 every... Yeah, she... I had this figured out at one point.
And Genos is, I think he's 250 HPS for the Astro Mark, so that kind of makes sense.
That would be 20... No. Yeah, that would be
A
close.
fifth of that?
It would be close to 25... Yeah, no, 20%. You're right. If it's 250. Because let's say he's got a little cauterize on there.
A little math for the bros.
10%. Yeah. Going down 50 to 46, 40. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be around... It sounds like you're right on the money. About 0.2 as far as the tick rate there. There's Grover, 20, unencumbered. That's probably the best number to use right there. What's Grover's? And we'll figure that one out. The efflorescence passive.
Yeah, 30 seconds now on the clock now, but not going to need it. That time and space doesn't connect with anyone. And it's a 5-strong defense for the time being. One ultimate for Lowkey Esports if they want to get it through, but it's certainly one that has the stopping power to do so if they only find the angle.
That was a nice teammate Vine. You can do that. It's not often seen. We've seen it in some really awesome ways, like on a soaring Eevee at one point, with Bugsy pulling that one off. But yes, the Vine can go to teammates as they are moving as well.
What about the old offensive Vine?
The offensive Vine, that's a scary one.
Fabled.
It's fabled. I haven't seen it really nearly ever done. But if somebody wants to make a highlight play that will live on in infamy, please try.
I could be a new Grover talent.
You could be. Oh, it could be.
Just gives him the ability to bind somebody to it, like a new age Makoa hook.
You know what? And then your Vine can't be used like
hit scan
to
Makoa
move you.
hook.
That would be insane. A whole new meaning.
Could work too, because you're a support, right? You're squishy. You don't exactly want to be bringing people right to you, but in the right instance.
What if you could like have some momentum with it, so you can kind of like bring them, and if you like kind of moved backwards and sidestepped, you can kind of like throw them.
Swing better, about a swing. And then if there's an enemy there, they take damage.
Feel like we're biting right now.
There used to be it's not really a bug, it was just the way the old dredge anchor worked.
Right.
If you just spun around fast enough with Makoa, your target would never actually land in front of you, and they would just be forever hooked.
That's the kind of innovative talent that I want in Paladins game.
Well, look no further, because we got it.
Here's the innovative talent right here, which is just constantly innovating kills out of no situation that they are deserved to be had. But that's what Orifix is all about here with this Koga. And that's why the streaks are upon us. That's why this game most likely is over, especially if you can get undulant games down. He knows he's got to come out. He's going to get the full heal here. He's going to get the stun. So he's in agony, Saris. He's going to get the heal, but he still can't stay alive.
Big zoning coming out here. Grover capturing the objective away.
Big boy zone.
Dutifully, 66% and climbing here as Lowkey Esports look to have everything squared away here in game number 2. Hard dive coming out from Counter. He's going to ADS
here.
I
like this.
And it's tough from this distance, but a nice whirlwind to respond, and Counter falls limply to the ground as the leaves begin to settle
as they
on
settle.
Frog Isle. Frogile.
Frog Ile. I love it. And
I just hope it lived up to Dave's expectations.
Right.
It's his favorite map.
It is, and I can see why right there. As long as Dave is happy that all that transpired, then I think we're good. I mean, I feel good.
There's only one guy that can let us know if Dave was happy or not.
Gore, take it away.
I am happy. Believe it or not, I am happy here on the desk, but you know,
they asked me, all right?
They asked you, no, that's right. Are you happy?
Dave is happy here on the desk, okay?
Gore, am I happy?
I've done a lot of analysis on this. You know, it's been years I've been studying Dave for like 3 weeks now.
A month, maybe. It's been a month. You know,
he's happy on Frog Isle.
Always happy on Frog Isle, regardless of the outcome. But E-Storm finally finding a point, which is good. I mean, you don't want – it's hard to see back-to-back 4-0s. We are going to dive into post-game stats here to see a little bit more about how it played out. So eStorm doing a good job, at least, of finding a little bit of momentum there.
It's a step in the right direction, which is honestly, like, as weird as it sounds, and this is something like, you know, when you look at, like, Viral earlier, when they just did not quite get the matchup they wanted, it's a very similar performance, right?
Sure.
You got to be able to find 1 point. Then you start looking for 2 points. Then you look for 3. Then you look to be able to win a game. Then you start looking to try and skew it more in the other direction until you're the team finding 4-0s. They did better that time. Counter, I actually noted, did a really, really good job at the beginning of the game because he got a very early kill onto G-Pan, being able to kind of stop Orifix from getting off the leash very early on, kind of keep him under control, and that was the only time that it really happened. But it was a really, really solid start.
Absolutely, and I know one thing that you noted and kind of wanted to touch on as we get into some post-game replays here, but you really liked the Koga play in this game, and I know that we were a little wary of it being paired without the Torvald, but the Koga you actually really enjoyed.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at it because I remember seeing the name Orifix, and I knew there were 2 rookies on this. I couldn't quite recollect which ones were the rookies. We were looking at it, I was like, okay, so Orifix has been around for a little bit, and this was definitely a bigger splash than I ever remember seeing in the past. And I think that's a good sign for the team all in all. I mean, going from what was Happy Battle Cats now to Lowkey Esports, having someone who can flex around this way, go from the Vivian to the Koga, and pretty much have really good slash lines both way, really good damage, and is kind of keeping the control for your team, that is a solid pick.
Absolutely, and the Genos as well. I know that's another thing that you noted, but Genos smiley face, I believe, is what I see
really
on the side over there.
It says Genos smiley face.
So smiley face there on the Genos. We're happy about the Genos pick there.
He do goo.
Genos did well, but both teams, and here we see some great highlights. Good job on the production squad being ready for that. There you go. You got G-Pan doing a great job on the Genos, and continuing to surprise me, at least. You know, I wasn't ready to see the damaged Genos today, and out he came.
I'm gonna be 100%. I wasn't expecting a damaged Genos today, although I have seen him run it in the past, so it didn't catch us all by surprise. And that's kind of where, I mean, like, I've seen SoldierBot do it in the past, and I think he's namely the main one I've seen, but it seems like it's kind of trickled down from what was at the time a higher echelon to everybody recognizing this is pretty good.
Jaguar Falls is going to be our 3rd map here, so eStorm finally getting a pick, hoping that they can find some sort of respite here, 4-0, 4-1 back-to-back. I mean, that's tough, but if you are going to come back, you just got to do it one at a time. You can't be looking, you can't say we got to win 3 maps. You say, I got to win this map, and then I win another map after that, and then I win another map after that. The Genos band coming out. Genos frowny face is what eStorm has noted on their cards back in their
coach was sitting
Genos
back there, and he
face.
goes, no. No Genos.
No more Genos.
Just not working out well for him. And admittedly, that's a good step in the right direction. I was actually looking if I was going to ban something there and it was going to be a target ban. I was leaning personally more towards a Ruckus, but this is a really good way to kind of traverse through it because you say Genos has been dealing a lot of damage. It enabled that flank. Even though it wasn't the damage boost, it didn't have Luminary, it still allowed Koga to heal up through his claws while he could kind of ignore that self-damage and apply way more than necessary. So you force him in, Lowkey Esports in this case, into a little more of an awkward spot.
And you do see Torvald and Vivian rounding out the 3 bands we have here. Meanwhile, Makoa and Ash, so very strong, tanky emphasis starting things out here for Lowkey Esports. Meanwhile, the Koga, again, being paired without the Torvald. We saw one game with some success and another game without any success for it. So eStorm being the team that wasn't able to find the success, but giving it another shot here with a Torvald-less Koga in map number 3.
Next time you see my
they're going to have Ash, Makoa, Saris, which that as a front line and as sustainability is going to be ridiculous to try and burn through as Koga or anyone. And then Leon on the background. So she's going to be able to deal the damage. She's hit scan. Koga's going to have projectiles. She's going to be able to hit him a lot harder, a lot faster. So you're going to be looking for kind of an awkward boxing match between the 2.
Stranger.
And again, a 5th pick in Nara coming out. I guess, I don't know. She finds her way through every time, whether it's 1st through 5th. She finds her way. The Khan and the Victor rounding out the final 3 picks there for eStorm. Meanwhile, Leon and Talus rounding things up for Lowkey Esports on the opposite side. So two pretty strong lineups, I'd say.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it comes down to how well eStorm can play at Koga without any facilitation on him. If they can go back, if it looks like the Brightmarsh game, it's not going to be anywhere what you would want to see. But if they can play the way that we just saw Lowkey Esports kind of adapt it, although they have to do it without a Genos, I think that they're going to have a lot more of a chance at taking this game.
So they're definitely looking to find their stride here, and the Koga sort of been a contentious pick all day. We've seen some great success out of them. We've seen some bad success, or I guess bad success isn't really a way that you can word it. Some failure, I think, is the way that goes. But definitely one of the higher priority picks, something to look into. Going into game number 3, we are going to get into it, so let's send it over to your casters. Here's Rain Day and Pretty Hair.
Thank you, Dave and Gore. And thanks, Gore, for that update on Dave after Frog Isle. I'm glad we were able to check in.
Absolutely. Full send now.
Full send, and we are ready to go. Scoreboard, your favorite time in the game. A little sitar in the background. Hey, wasn't that Brightmarsh's?
Oh, man.
Are we doubling up on them? Did we just...
So nice they played it twice.
I mean, at a certain point, you have to take a stand as a talent piece. I'm not going to cast doubled music. I mean, what is this?
And so it
I'm just kidding, guys.
Another healing
Let's have a little fun here, huh?
And Drox is going for the life rip. Well, Koga, I don't know. It's tough, man.
It's tough when you do it.
Champion player names are tough.
When you do it like that, it's really tough. Plus, it's really confusing for the brand as well. I mean, imagine you got to play a Talus.
Oh.
And, our Koga. I mean, this is exactly what's the situation. You don't even have to imagine.
Oh, I love these double hits on the presence, getting a ton of damage out. Full resets, but not enough to stay alive here. Left stick down, as we've redetermined that the W key must be named here on console. And treacherous ground, too. Okay.
Left stick down. I didn't even know what you were saying until I you
because I said W keyed earlier, and then I was like, well, that doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. But despite winning that one pretty well, they have let Taco Bell Waifu get back onto the point. The ADS king right here.
The last mistake they ever made.
Counter's going to shut it down, but the overtime will tick away. That wall will not last long enough. Counter, knowing that the Talus is going to show up, but not quite there yet. The objective will be captured by eStorm, and I think that is their first objective captured, Nick.
So treacherous ground, it's almost like a wall, but better. It's like a wall that nobody acknowledges.
That's
and
true.
It's like an invisible barrier. They're just like,
Oh,
what do I do?
what is this feeling?
Buy a bulldozer. It's
Yeah.
not ingrained enough in people at this point. Get it out of here. You have to just destroy this thing, whether it's Talus, whether it's Leon, whether it's Makoa. It could be Makoa. I mean, he's going to scale fairly well with it, and he's going to be always up in Inara's face. Somebody's got to get rid of it. It's going to remove so much value from what this Inara is currently bringing. They got to do it. That's a big convergence there, but no follow-up.
Yeah, not enough. I mean, the barrage coming back on from counter to Milka Cat is very, very strong. And maybe that's why they pulled back a little bit. They didn't want to go in. They heard the goggles come up. You can hear that sound cue in game. And so maybe this is just eStorm, having their moment here in this set finally. We were wondering when it was going to show up. But it does feel like at least something has happened. Even if it's not a haymaker, it's not an uppercut, nothing going to see in a Rocky film, at least you are going to see some success. And Palo continually inching forward, and now Taco Bell Waifu in a bad spot again. Going to go up. He's going to make it down. I thought he was dead for sure.
Definitely. 286 HP to spare. Not a lot to work with. Now he's trying to dash out. Gets body blocked. The counterplay is there indeed. Struck user. Trying to track down this Talus, gets hooked away, getting thrown all around the map. 60 seconds on the clock, and decent progress made so far as the payload starts to roll under and into the enemy base.
And very coordinated, I will say that. They seem to be grouping very well. The Inara and the Khan, the Grover, this is such a strong early game composition. They have the Koga themselves, though he's not really working with any damage amp or any sustain, but the Grover augments in the same way that Genos might. If Grover's standing around, he's not going to have to pay a huge penalty or a penalty at all for those claws.
And Khan running a ton of extra ammo here alongside another convergence comes through. Unable to follow that one up, and that's what's, if they can just line that up, they don't even really need anything fancy. Like, you can literally, with Eminence Leon, just keep pounding presences through. I mean, you're going to get these full resets. You're going to be chunking people for 900 to 1100 damage based on how far you are. It's crazy that Leon could potentially be the only follow-up they need if they can just line it up.
I mean, this is definitely an overbearing composition, and Counter, who seems to really love Victor. We've seen Victor continuously played on these maps for him. I believe it's been in every game he is finally started to have some success, and I like that the grenade is being utilized, finding some double kills here. Can they keep it up once the cauterizes start to be a factor in the game? That's the big question.
Yeah, it's a ton of damage, and as long as Struck User can keep locking people down, making it that much easier. Sometimes it's that easy, right?
Yeah.
It's the ease of your composition. If everyone is just locked down, crippled out, slowed by 60%, and you're pegging every single shot and not missing, it's a matter of time before you win that fight.
81,000 healing after 4 minutes of play.
Oh my God, you're not trolling.
That's actually insane.
Oh my God.
That's like
all kinds of records here in the console
That's
league
all
today.
kinds of records, man. That is, I mean, we're saying, 100K per 10 minutes is pretty good. He's nearly at 100K per 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's
He's
pretty impressive.
Big benchmark here. Overpower misses again. And, if you're winning the game while missing key elements of your team fight,
yeah,
it's not where you want to be, but it's a bad problem to have, I guess.
Yep, exactly. It's
we could be winning harder.
Exactly. And I think that's one of those things where you got to figure out, I mean, is it just this early game comp? Is it the fact that Grover's
part of that
same numbers, right? Like, now that they've got him going down, was that it? Like, the fact they're doubling the healing at this point? What happens now in this team fight? Can Leon have a little bit of rhythm? Oh, she goes for the slide, and it might have slid her off the map. You never know, that Manifest Destiny can take you farther than you think, but she gets stuck, and the 2-tank's still alive.
Let's take a quick peek at the items here. Has anyone picked up Bulldozer in response? Not yet, and it's not surprising. It's not like you have to go into it now. I think Makoa could probably afford to divert into the Bulldozer. He's a decent COT applicator, but they have so much more of it. And the other, 4 people picking it up at this point. There are ways you can get around it, but they managed to bring it back and low-key win a fight.
And, I mean, you got to say, still awesome stuff for the Grover. Let's check in on his healing now. It might be around 100K. You would imagine it is just over. But I will say this, the fact that he's no longer on that streak, the fact that he's died, they had that moment, that's what really allowed them to win the fight. Khan and Inara, I mean, they are doing a fantastic job of staying together, utilizing both of their ways to heal and buy time, and it's just turning into a very difficult grouping to break.
It would have been really nice, though, to grab this payload and to try and put this one away for
Yeah.
With this much healing and this much momentum, and given how the rest of these games went, eStorm do not want to give Lowkey Esports another chance to get back into this game.
I guess, Nick, if you reverse your statement, right, you're missing key ultimates and you're still winning, but if you also are doing so well early and you then still lose that second point fight, could be a sign that things are not going to tilt your favor anymore. In fact, they might have already reached their peak, and things are only going to get worse from here.
Yeah. I mean, comeback mechanic can definitely do some dirty things, right? You can feel like you're winning this team fight hands down, and then you lose grip of it just for like 10 seconds, and then it's like, oh my God, it's almost over. Actually, we got to go. We got to get in there.
Yep.
And now the payload is nearly at the finish line. The nose of the front grille touching the final destination, and Talus able to get this 1v1 under wraps and might actually pick up this Grover as well.
I mean, yeah, the perfect reset, buys time, forces the Grover fine already, good heal, and here's where Androxus needs to shine. He has. He did the deep. We're acting like there's like only 5 seconds left. There is still 52 seconds left on this push. If I were them, I'd just jump off at this point. They know they're not going to get out of this alive. She's going for the shadow travel. Just risky. If Koga pursued that, he might be able to catch up to her and finish her off, but...
And I'm memeing on his life for it, but uncauterized, he's stealing 280, 290 a swing, and just 1 or 2 of those, and you have yourself a big, beefy Koga, who you already probably weren't beating in that 1v1, and after he picks up an additional 600 HP, you're absolutely not beating him in that one.
Exactly. I mean, it maybe that swing or two after he's in a fight, he wins and he's going to the next target where he's half health, but if he could just get 400 health back without needing the healer's attention, I mean, maybe that's worth it at the end of the day, too. There isn't a crazy shield comp on their side also. It's, there are shields, but it's not an insane thing to deal with. Orifix here, though, finding a kill on the counter. This should set things up really nicely. That is a cry for help there on the Androxus, and he makes it out. I'm surprised that Koga's still alive and safe.
They have a lot of ultimates to work with. Lowkey Esports do Ancient Rage, Assert Dominance, Enlightenment, and Hell Convergence is not too far off the mark given how many of those we've seen, but shutting it all down. Counter finds 3.
Wow, that's big time. I love it. I didn't expect that at all, but here you go. 3-1. eStorm holds strong. They have to use some ults for it, though. Whirlwind. They have to go into the barrage, but they do still have the Cyclone Strike, the Koga ult. And you see the way they play. I mean, they're so together in every aspect of the word, even the damage dealers. It's what it's about sometimes.
Yep. Big numbers being put up on both sides, and it's hard to say, given how kind of hand over fist that first round went to eStorm, that they're going to fall too short here. Comeback mechanics still enabled for Lowkey Esports. Easiest adjustment though this time. Hit that overpower. That is a super free pick. I would like for you to wait for the Assert Dominance to come out, grab her out of that, and sort of double the value, if you will, of your getting out of your ultimate there. Taco Bell Waifu picking up the Bulldozer as well. Last guy I wanted to go into that, though, because she's not going to scale so well with that. Overpower early. I think it was on Ash before the ultimate unfortunately went off, though.
And she jumped back on. Can she land?
Oh, and she did.
She did. She's still on all the overpower. That is the issue that we were hoping to kind of avoid in terms of our speculation of how the fight might go, but it's exactly what works in the favor of Taco Bell Waifu. And just like that, I mean, this fight is probably over, especially since they have comeback mechanic.
I mean, that's part of why you want it to come out after. If you're not going to wait to bait that ultimate out, then you've got to get closer to the edge there. It's just that simple. And that just might be it. I mean, they're dying for the zone, but it's worth it when you have comeback mechanic. Koga's trying desperately to get in there, but not even he will make it.
Ooh, but Nara on the left side, they didn't see her. It's just not enough time. I love the zone. I love the aggression. And it just goes to show you how these fights can sometimes be decided on the, you know, basically edge of a knife. It's so interesting how these 10-second, 5-second, 2-second moments really decide games here. What looked like eStorm potentially taking the W, the first one in this set, now is starting to tilt in the favor of Lowkey Esports. They're 50% of the way through it. Only a few seconds have gone by.
Goodness, that does damage. My God. You're able to hit those headshots,
About half
man.
health.
It's scary. It is very, very scary playing against those burst mode victors. 150 on the clock. Counter starting to get walked down a little bit, and one shield comes up, and he can no longer win that fight. Koga, 1v1 here. This is close. I don't see it going Talos' way unless he gets some emergency healing.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's showing up. I mean, I think the ambulance, the paramedics, they got the wrong address or something. I don't expect them here anytime soon. Minute and 30 seconds now. Beautiful shot by G-Pan. Velocity absolutely in the name and in the play. Hits another one. Beautiful use of just all of Leon's kit to hit that cleave, hit the grace, hit the presence.
I actually want to look at his loadout real quick once we get back into the doors. I don't think he's running any cooldown after Elim, which wasn't something that I ran, but once I saw it and the implication of that, I was like, it's a big mistake that I'm not running this. I mean, it's a 2-point card, and it does so much for the flow of your fight and the flow of your kit. It gets you that full reset as long as you get the kill or are a part of it, which is very hard not to be a part of these kills with Leon. So would certainly prescribe that little tweak to some of these loadouts here, and very questionable loadouts across the day, but to each their own, of course. Life Rip 3 and V8 Andro, I think he went into complete lifesteal in his loadout as well, so he's rocking somewhere in the neighborhood of 55% lifesteal, uncauterized on this Koga.
I mean, these are the things that are, you know, at some would consider traps in the Paladins kind of universe because of the fact that they don't work the way you think they might work numbers-wise. If you're not familiar with diminishing returns, I'm going to give everyone the credit of the benefit of the doubt that they know that. They're just playing around the situation where they aren't cauterized, or maybe the early game, which this comp is clearly an early game composition. So I see where they were going with that. It might have been very, very intentional, but they're not in the early game anymore. It's 3-3, ladies and gentlemen. And at this point, Angelin is forced into the whirlwind, but I think Orphix got him. I think that was worth it, Nick.
Absolutely. Cauterized starting to come online here. And now into the Cyclone Strike and the Seismic Crash. Koga can't get it done, taken out immediately after coming out.
Good combination, though. I like the implications of those two ultimates being used together, but it's 57% and counting. And now Grover can't even make it back to base. This is looking bad, and counter gets countered. I think this is Lowkey Esports cleaning up the set with a 3-0. However, someone may touch. I think there is someone nearby the point, and it is the Khan. Can he get there? No, he's body blocked by the Ash, and that'll do it. Not only for this set, but for the day. Lowkey Esports, they end up taking a 3-0 to close out the PCL.
Nice stuff there. Very, very different styles. I don't think I've seen that much kind of up and down, black and white between sets in a, you know, comparing it to the minor league and the Premier League. Normally, it's like kind of within the confines of the meta, but these guys are picking and banning extremely different things. But again, you got to remind yourself that different platforms and different regions are coming into play in the console league, which means that a lot of these guys never have to play against one another.
Absolutely.
And that's what allows for these massive diversions in each other's metas.
And you see what works, you see what doesn't work, especially when it's toe-to-toe. But let's send it back to the desk to break it down, our final set, and close out the day here in the PCL.
Thank you very much, Rain Day and Pretty Hair. And Gore, eStorm showing some real fight there, but unable to push it through, end up getting 3-0'd. But I think something important for them to hold on to is that 4-3 there at the end.
Yeah, and again, being able to take that, and it shows that they know Jaguar Falls a lot better. They knew what they were doing draft-wise. It's just being able to apply that to more maps. You have to be able to scrim on every map. You have to be able to play on every map that you can think of, because even if you can ban out 2 of them, one day they're going to seep through.
And I know one good thing you did have to say there about eStorm is Counter played very well, and he did play very well there. He had 133,000 damage, highest in the game, and obviously you hope for that and you expect that out of a Victor, but Counter certainly a bit of a port in the storm there to say, I guess, for eStorm. Funny way of putting it, but you can see there a great slash line from him as well.
And just being able to do as much as he did, it made a big difference. There's a point I put Counter smiley face because he got a triple kill that ultimately didn't change the fate of the game, but it just shows, again, you're still trying. You're still kicking. You're not just saying, okay, well, we're down 2-0, we're going to give up. And that was the way Jag Falls felt. They were very much putting right up against Lowkey Esports every step of the way. It just was some small things towards the very end that just didn't quite pick up the way they wanted. They still kill Ash, but they weren't able to quite kill off the Makoa that they needed to.
And I think on the flip side of the coin, a good thing to look at is Lowkey Esports playing very well. I mean, obviously, eStorm is a newer team into the scene, as seen by a lot of their players being new, of course, but Lowkey Esports really hitting on all cylinders there. We are going to see a recap of the standings after today's action. Lots of really fun games to watch, lots of really fun games to see how it all pans out. You see Cyclone GG and Bust Down leading off the standings on the Xbox One in EU. Flashpoint and iTech rounding out the top 2 spots for the PS4 in Europe. So a lot of good play out of those 2 teams. We saw some really great things. I know Flashpoint was the first game of the day. Certainly one of the stronger teams that we saw here today.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, of course, it's just the first day, so there's only going to be 1 win, 1 loss for these teams. But Flashpoint, one of those teams you expect to see kind of take those steps ahead. The same thing can be said for Cyclone. Like the ones where you've seen these players in past splits, first couple weeks, they're usually going to be the ones, even for North America. But when it comes down to weeks 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, that's when things start to change around.
And on the flip side, we do see the North American standings. Some games still left to be played here, but eStorm leading, eStorm falling there, so Lowkey Esports will be taking that top spot, and Victus and Has-Beens on the PlayStation 4 taking the top 2 spots on their end. So some very strong play, and Victus especially. I know that Heating Up will be a little disappointed to have taken the loss on their side, because I think that was a 4-map set that I casted that went 4-3, 4-3, and then like 4-2, and then 4-3 at the end of it. So a lot of those teams playing very close, but all around a lot of very good, very interesting action today.
Yeah, and that's actually what I'm most happy about. I'm seeing new players that are coming in, having stellar performances, so that they are keeping up with some of these players we've seen in the past, as well as seeing teams that have either stuck together or newly formed teams that are dominating something that could have been something that we would have said was indomitable in the past. Things like Heating Up losing is a very big deal for week 1.
But that is going to wrap it up for our action today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the first day of the Paladins Minor League. Same time, same place. We'll see you guys tomorrow.